the first thing on this menu that you're looking here, these are all user definable buttons. You can add any of your own buttons that have links to the upper menu here. So when I'm looking at invoice history with this button, I'm bringing up all my invoice history to be reprinted, emailed to the customer, whatever. I can also get it from up here under my transactions invoice history, and we see the same thing. So this makes it easier for people to jump right into a specific application by utilizing these buttons. They're strictly elective. You don't have to have them, but if you want them, we could put as many different kind of buttons as you want on here. Okay, so the first thing we're going to start with is a quick import from AutoQuotes, because we want to build some inventory, and when we build it through AutoQuotes, it's going to give us all the information that we need with a direct link to the AutoQuote vendor GUID numbers and the pictures and the cut sheets and all the other things that we want to append to this item. Bringing it in through the AutoQuotes is a way to do it. If you manually create an item and it is an AutoQuote manufacturer item and you didn't do a project, then you could manually go into the vendor and put in the GUID number for that vendor, and then put in inventory that item's GUID. It's a 52-character number. So whenever you do an import from AutoQuotes, it doesn't care what your primary SKU is. It doesn't care what your alternate SKUs are. All it's looking for is that GUID number. If it sees it in positive, it won't touch your inventory master record. But if it doesn't see it, it's going to add a second part number, which is identical to your first one, but this one would have a GUID and stuff. So it can go either way, but it's always kind of nice to let the AutoQuotes generate your part numbers. Now, if you're doing something that is not part of the AutoQuotes group of vendors, you don't need GUID numbers. Those can just be new inventory items and new vendors. So I'm going to start quickly by clicking the Import AutoQuotes. And I'm going to bring in a very small import so it goes quickly. So basically what you're just doing is drilling down and finding the AutoQuote export file. They're called JSON files. Okay, so we're going to use positive on the green. So I'm going to click import. First thing it does is says, do I have True Manufacturing as an existing link vendor? The fact that I do from prior imports says, okay, I don't need to link it again. Then you click on continue. Then it says, here's all the items we're bringing in from AutoQuotes. If they have green check marks, that means they're already in positive inventory system. If they're not in positive inventory system, all you do is click verify all, and it says, okay, I'm going to add those to positive with all the information I need, the spec and all the other pieces and parts that the AutoQuotes has in their file. So I just hit continue, and it says, all right, who is the customer? If your JSON file and your project had the name and address and stuff, it'll build your customer for you. If it doesn't, I go to change customer and say, hey, I want to use positive on the green. So I click OK. So now it's building my items, the 3 items, and my import is completed. I have imported as much as 11,000 items. So that took about 15 minutes. All right, so that's done. If I go over into my pending, there we go. And then I click under the pending, I have my quote This is the one I just brought in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to print this to the screen so you got to look at what it looks like. I can also email almost all my documents. My purchase orders, my invoices, sales orders, service orders, everything can be emailed directly instead of having to print it and digitize it and copying it. So what I'm going to do is print this. Now, these kinds of forms are all user definable. We give you all kind of samples, and we even teach you how to use those forms with Report Writer. This particular one is a quote, okay? So as you see, who I sold it to, who it's being shipped to, unlimited amount of ship tos, and then all the information that went with that, okay? Doing another one that has a lot more detail, if I did it again with an auto quote, and this time I brought in the positive demo and said import. It says all my vendors are linked, copy. All my items are linked, continue. I'm going to change this to this restaurant. And I'm going to make sure that I have that restaurant. I do, good, okay. Then I'm going to say, go ahead and continue. Now this one has a lot more notes and everything in it. And those notes are going to be carried through the quote, the sales order, the purchase order, and the invoice, unless you want to use one of our custom invoices, what I'll show you in a second. So when I'm done with that, and I go now to pending, and I go to quote, I should have two quotes in here now. And we'll go to that second restaurant. Now you'll notice here on the side, when you're looking at these items here, every one of those items that have pictures, it also tells you if you have them in stock, what their price is, do you have a purchase order made up for them. Allocation is when you use job cost. This gives you the ability to take a specific item that was received in, even though you've got 4 of them in stock, you could pick the item that you want to assign to that job if you got a special price break. And Legend just tells you what all those things here mean. Okay, so if I print this one out, and say show costs, now you'll see I've got a lot more information, and any kind of notes or anything else will all be brought in along with this project. So it saves you from any time of having to first add your item into your inventory before you create a quote or a service order or a sales order. So now that we're going to take this one here that we've got, and I'm going to say I want to convert this or partial convert. Partial means I'm only going to take a few items off here and convert them into a sales order. The rest I'll leave on my quote if people want things done in phases. But I'm going to say a convert, and I'm going to convert this to a sales order. It automatically locks that record, so nobody else can be modifying it while I'm in the middle of making changes to it. So here's all my information. If I want to add some labor here, all I do is type labor. And it says, well, how much hours? And I say, I think it's going to take him 3 hours to put all this stuff in. So that will then charge $140 an hour to the customer. And you can set up, again, all your different types of labors and mixes and matches. And I'm going to save this. And does the customer give me a purchase order number to do this work? And I said, yeah, he did. What date am I going to be delivering this? I think we're going to deliver on the 1st. We've already got a project going. That's that Positive Restaurant on the green. So let's just do this one on the 10th. Do I want to apply a payment? Do I want money up front? Yeah, I do. So I want $5,000 to make sure he's serious and doesn't back out on me. And how are we going to take that $5,000? We can take it as a credit card. If he had an account with us, we could put it on account. I'll take a check, and I'll put the check number in. Okay, so I can print an order. I can print a picking ticket for the guys to pull. I can say both. So if I say preview here, here's my picking ticket. It will tell me where each of these items are located in my warehouse if I've got the bin location set up. It'll say how many they're pulled, how many they're short. And again, everything that was on the auto quote project is on here. Is there a question?
Nope.
No question? Okay. So next it's going to preview and it's going to give you your, I'll hide the cost on this one. This is that sales order. Okay. So now that's done. If I wanted to go to my sales order and say, this tells me the items that are on this one that I'm going to be doing, okay? And it tells me the quantity. If I look at the properties, it says I'm going to be back ordering this one because I don't have it in stock. I'll be back ordering this one. So I'm going to create a purchase order for this sales order. And here's a list of the items that came from the sales order. And now this PO is going to be linked to that sales order. So I'm going to tag all. And my choices are, am I can drop ship it to the location? Am I going to put a few items on hold to be create a PO later on for the rest of the order? Or am I going to convert all of these to a purchase order? If I do, it's got question marks saying, which ones do you want to create POs for? And I'm going to say they're all true. I'm going to say tag all and create my purchase order for me. I haven't touched the keyboard in a while. Everything is just click a mouse button. So it's true manufacturing. I can edit this. And it goes right to my purchase order. If everything looks good, here's my cost and everything. I just say, I'm going to go ahead and release this order to the vendor. And it's now ready to close this and go to purchasing under create receive PO. I can send an email of this purchase order just by clicking email. And then if I have their name and address in the vendor file, it'll fill all that in for me. And I click send now, and a duplicate of the purchase order, which looks like this. There's my print. Here's my purchase order that goes to the vendor. It has the auto quote numbers here that match your blueprints. So the guy knows how to package his stuff that's going to be put in certain spots inside the restaurant. Okay. Here's all the things that were on that one. Okay. So that's done now. If I go since I've received this, if I want to say it's now coming into the warehouse, I click receive edit. I put in the packing slip or the invoice number. And if your warehouse guy has a data collection gun, he can either scan a copy of the purchase orders with the barcodes on it, or he can scan the UPC codes on the boxes, and that'll do his count for him. That's what the import is for. So if everything has been received here, I'm going to say receive all. and post. Receive now. And it brought everything in on that order for this sales order. So that PO is linked to that sales order. And it's going to let us know that it's been received. Now, my accounting people, when they go into their payables, they're going to see that invoice that was just received into the warehouse. When the actual invoice comes in, they have the ability to edit and say, you know, the invoice didn't have this cost in. The invoice had 5,042 as its price. So what that's going to do is that's going to change the cost that was received in inventory. So if we go into inventory and look at it, you'll see this new cost is there, not the received cost. So there's nothing that you have to do to correct your costs. The software will correct it for you. So if everything is good on that, we're going to save it. And we're going to what they call post approved, meaning I'm ready to move this into payables now. You also have the ability to scan the actual invoice with your scanner, and it'll attach itself to the accounts payable invoice. So you don't have to go looking in the file drawer for a copy of the invoice. If you have questions, you could just bring the invoice up, look at documents, and say, oh, here's a copy of the invoice, and you can see everything that was on the original copy. We're trying to be as paperless as possible. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and update that. So now when I go into my payables, here is my invoice ready to be paid. And how much do I want to pay? I can pay all. I can pay by a date range, whatever I want. I can also pay from different checking accounts. It's up to me on which checking account's going to pay for it. So I could say pay and then process paid. Now here's where we have that ability to have multiple different checking accounts or multiple types of tender. I can pay this with a ACH. I can pay it with a credit card. I can pay it with a check that's going to be manufactured off our system. So any of those options are available to you. So when I say process and I hit, I'll skip that. I want to print. These are remittance advices. If I go into my checkbook now, here's the one we just did for True for 15,000, and that reduced my running balance on my checkbook down to $1,020,000. Okay, so I'm seeing the GL detail charges on the documents. I'm seeing the any kind of documents that were added to that. Where if I want to say, hey, I want to add a print of the actual invoice, or I want to look at the actual invoice, that's all done here with these buttons. And if I look at Audit Trail, there is no Audit Trail for this. So if everything's good here, I can say I want to print this one. So I'm going to go to print check. Now it put it in the checkbook, but with no checkbook number. So if the owner has decided to handwrite the checks to micromanage the company, all you got to do is just edit this and put the check number that he gives you to give when you send the actual payment in. Or we can print checks and it says, all right, what is your first check number? Well, we're going to look, our last check number was 2011. So what we're going to do is go to here and say that our next check is going to be 2012, whatever is in the book, or excuse me, in the box when you load your printer. And we're going to use laser checks cut into perfed into 3. And then we're going to say print the checks. So now it's got that check number. If something happens, we have the ability to go back and say send to print, and we can go ahead and reprint that check again if it got messed up or screwed up. Okay, so we're just going to remove it from the print list because we've already printed it once. So that took care of all the accounting back end. Now on the invoice section, if we go into our transactions and we go to our pending, and we go into this one right here. I think this is the one I was on the green. Okay. And then we say we want to convert this to an invoice now, or we could check a bunch of them and convert a bunch of invoices simultaneously. Here's a salesperson who gets commission. If you want to add any additional things that you didn't put on your sales order or change anything, you can do it here. If everything's good, you say tender. There's some back, we'll just say fill all back orders. And they're going to put it on a store account. I exceeded their credit limit. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to go here and say, I want to allow this charge. I don't want to change your credit limit to 0. I'm just going to allow this charge. And so hit store account and OK. And we'll look at the invoice. Now, what we've done is we've tried to make this invoice look exactly like auto quote invoices. So we have pictures, we have the information here, all the warranty information, everything that was done on an auto quote proposal is on our auto quote invoice. Or we can drop all this stuff off on another invoice form and only show one line per item and not show all this stuff. It's up to the customer on which type of invoice he wants to print. Okay, so we've taken it all the way through on both ends. I'm open for any questions on the processes that I did.
The system doesn't keep the next check number automatically for you?
Yes, it can, but you have to flag it to say use the next number. But the problem with that is what happens if a check got damaged? So I typically leave it so you have to put the check number because you're looking at the actual checks sitting in the checkbox and you want to make sure that's the correct first check number.
Well, the way we're using it right now with Sage, it automatically moves or goes to the next check number, but it's also, and I don't know the terminology, but we just have blank check stock.
Yes, I know. Right. I use Sage myself for my own personal accounting because I've used it for so many years. And I love the idea that it makes laser checks, puts the micro encoding on, does everything. Yeah, that's wonderful. This one doesn't do this. This will print the exact same, but you have to have check stock that's already pre-printed with numbers on it and micros on it. And then we fill in all the empty spaces.
Okay. Is it an option to just push the AP to Sage and process checks out of Sage?
No problem. You can certainly print the checks here.
I don't know if that's an easier option. I'm just questioning.
No, that's okay. If you want to print the checks in paper, but then over to Sage, we're going to have to import the invoice. Then we're going to have to import the check. So that's going to be several imports with Visual Integrator to bring that check information into Sage just so we can create a Sage invoice. Now, one of the things that we did for a few customers that we're using both Sage and Positive in the past is we went into Sage and we pre-printed on blank stock all the check stock that Positive needed. It printed the check number, it printed the micro, but they were all blank. It had the next check number, but it didn't have anything on it for the dollar amount, who the payee was, or any of that stuff. So we literally would print 200 checks at a time and then use those checks in Positive.
Okay.
See, the cool thing is if we print the check in Positive, we're keeping track of the check history for that invoice. We're keeping track of everything that happened with that invoice, what check paid for it. We can go into history and let me close this here. Go into our accounts payable, accounting, AP processing, and go into history. And all the information, the check numbers, if I had to do a search, if a customer said, hey, when you guys going to pay me the money you owe me? All I got to do is do a quick search for a vendor, and it'll show me every vendor that's the same name, the invoice I paid, the check number that paid for it, how much I paid, what date I paid it on. All that stuff's right here in Positive.
Okay.
So the other thing I was just going to touch on under transactions, I was just going to show you inventory, as I say, is built by AutoQuotes unless you make your own. But if we're gonna do something with, let's say, this artesian stone double oven here, we've got all the information about it that came in from AutoQuotes. We have under our documents, we have our videos that you get from YouTube. So you click it and it show you how to do that. And that will show up on the customer display if you wanted to, right behind the monitor at the counter. The spec sheets here, anything you want to attach to it, we bring the cut sheets in from AutoQuotes, but without having to go look for a brochure or whatever, when you're at the counter, all this stuff is right available for you. So I think that's a good thing. And then, of course, when you edit this, and you have a thing called SKU Manager, you put your UPC code in here or whatever additional numbers you want that it'll search on when you're looking for it. When you find it, it'll instantly turn it into 1T-2. Okay. So if you got any kind of promos going on right now where you're reducing the price over the weekend, if you want to do global price increases by a vendor, let's say True's going to bump everything up 2% in cost, you can say only want True items and bump it up 2% for this price level. We have on our physical inventory, we can use a data collector, go around and scan all the item, the UPC codes, and then it brings it into here and does a variance report. And anything that doesn't match, you go out and look for a little bit more. And if you can't, then it's going to write it off as a lost item. Okay. We have used items. If you bring something in on a trade-in, clean it up a little bit, and then sell it as a used item at a lower price than a new one, but you're still going to make a better profit margin. So under details, we have all our prices, our min-maxes, how we're going to handle those, multiple vendors for the same item. Are we tracking serial numbers in stock? Default, we normally only sell one at a time. We can set up subcategories if you want. Right now, the way we're doing our categories is we're putting them under here. So if we're looking for a draft beer cooler and click select, we're only going to see the draft beer coolers. Okay. Stock management.
I have a question about serial numbers, Dan, when you get a second.
I'm sorry, say again?
I have a couple questions about serial numbers and the serial number tracking.
Oh, okay.
One of the current issues with our system now is we receive a piece of equipment in ahead of time. Let's say we have to pay the we have to pay COD from a specific vendor. So we have to receive the invoice in first before we receive the piece of equipment to cut the check against it. We can't go back and put a serial number against that invoice in our current system. Are we able to do that in here?
Yes, sir. Let's go to one. And we'll go
and
to
then my
that.
other question, can we, if a customer calls us, can we search by a serial number in the system?
Every item you sell to a customer that has a serial number is tracked in our system, and that's there for the service module. So if work has to be done, we know what serial number is out on site. We know what the warranty is. We know what how many times we went out there and did work on that particular serialized item. So what we're going to do after I answer your first question, we'll go to a customer and I'll show you about, that particular serial item that was sold to that guy. Okay, so if I go to this one here and I say I want to edit, no, I want to go to Stock Manager, and I'm going to go to my manager, and here's where I have serial numbers that haven't been used yet. Okay. And then over on set status, if this one here, sold, we didn't update yet. This, you can find what invoice, this was added. I didn't sell this thing yet. Let me sell it, and then we'll go back to this one again. So I'm going to say sell now. I'm going to make it a customer sale. I'm going to sell it to Marble Room. It says, hey, I don't have any serial numbers for this. I'll say, okay, we're going to create one. Because I'm looking at the box and I know what my serial number is. Can't be found. You want to add it? Yeah. So I'm going to select that serial number. Now there's that serial number right on my screen and also will be printed on my invoice. So I'm going to tender this, and the guy won some money in a poker game, so he's going to pay cash for it. And we're going to, we can preview it or just skip it completely. So let's go back to that inventory again. I don't want to sell this again. I'm close this out. I'm going to go to inventory. I'm going to go to the artesian. And I'm going to go to my stock manager, set status. Here's the one received. Oh, let's do all sold and in stock. Okay, so here was the invoices we sold these serial numbers on. Okay, so if I bring this particular one up here, let's do a real invoice. Okay, and I double click that and say I want to go to manage, or I want to go to, yeah. So it brought up that serial number item. I can put any kind of notes in I want here. I can put who the customer account number was, if they were, whatever their number was, I'm not sure. This was one I didn't sell. I did it as a quick sale. That's why it's not showing the customer's name. But if it was the one that we did with the customer's name, we would see that. I'm wondering if I can put 511. Let's try this one here.
I think it was the one ending in 57 that you just did.
Ending in 57, you said?
Yes.
The one above that one.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Thank you. Okay. So it's got sold. Let me see if I can manager. Nope. So it's not showing me it's not showing me who the customer number was on here. It's got the invoice number, sold in stock. exchange, discarded, delivered. This is for drop ships. You can say it was delivered. Part of a bill of materials. And then again, you can put notes in here and here. But you can take something that you sold it and didn't know what the serial number, but then you can come back to it and put the serial number back in then. Okay?
If you look up the history for this item, would it tell you who it was sold to and give you the serial info?
Yes. This is the one we did right now. We sold this to, see here, we sold that to a quick sale.
Oh, so quick sale could be anybody.
Yeah. Anybody who walks
That's
in,
the
we're not
problem.
keeping track of it.
Right.
That's
That's
why
the
the
problem with doing quick sale.
name wasn't there.
Right, exactly. If you had picked a customer that was in your system,
Yeah. It would have shown you the name and everything about
right.
them.
Okay. It's like a cash sale, Mark. You know, it's,
Yeah, we're not keeping track of these people. However, you can set up what's called a query. So when a cash customer walks in, a window pops up and says, hey, if you give us your email address, we'll send you flyers out. And you can send email blasts from Positive to 10,000 people every Friday with any kind of special things you got going on at your location. And getting a walk-in customer's email, you don't have to create a customer from him. All you want to do is just get his email.
Okay.
Okay.
all right. Can we go to one of those customers there and pick an item that is serialized and then go back and look?
Yes, sir. We'll do that. What we're going to do is we will go in and do a customer sale, and we'll do it to Plaza Restaurant. And they have multiple ship tos you can go to. So we'll select this one because we do taxation based on the zip code. Okay, so this comes up here, and we're going to, I hope I have some more of these left. Yeah, I got one left. I'll put a serial number in. And here's my serial number. And I'm going to tender this. I won't bother with their PO number. And they're going to write a check. And we won't bother printing any invoices out. So now we're going to go to inventory again.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to go to the artesian. We're going to go to stock manager, sold and in stock. And
The third one from the bottom.
this one here. Okay, and then we'll go to manager.
All right, there it goes. Yep.
There's the information there.
Yep.
There's the serial number. We said we sold it. We could
Yep.
say we discarded it, we drop shipped it, whatever.
Okay.
Now, here's the important thing that I was kind of hinting at. Let's say okay here. Let's go to the service module, and we're going to put a new order in. Zazo. That's an order. I don't want an order. Excuse me. I want to avoid it. I want to go to transactions, service order. Come on, transactions. And no, create a service order. This is the guy. You see what it did? It immediately keeps track of every serialized item I sold this guy. So if I'm going to go do work, I can tell it which items I'm going to do service on. So if
Okay.
I'm doing service on this guy here, and I can add new serial numbers for items that somebody else sold to them, but I'm taking over the warranty work on it, I can add a serial number here. I don't have to sell it to them. Okay. So if I've got that, and we could skip choosing a serial number, okay, I can look at service history if I've got any service history against that, which I don't. So if this is good, I say finish. It says, okay, is he leaving something at our location for us to work on? Or what work are we supposed to do? Okay, new elements. ENTS. Okay, and we say, all right. So now, and we select where we're going. Now we're gonna say what items. If he's under warranty, it'll tell us that he bought this and he's still in the warranty for parts and labor. So he won't get a charge other than, well, maybe labor. He has to pay for labor, but he doesn't have to pay for the part. So right here, I would get my labor. Or in some cases, like the people down at LAVR, at National Equipment in West Virginia, 50% of their work is service work. And they'll get the service order started, but they won't put in what items were used to the repairs until the guy gets back and he tells them what parts he used off his truck and all that stuff. And then they fill in what was used and bill the customer's credit card or send him the invoice. So you can put all that stuff until you actually close and bill this out. This will remain open until all the work is done on that particular service order, and then you could close it and invoice it.
How do we send all these transactions to Sage now?
You got to pay us to write all the interfaces. That's how you do it.
Before we jump into that, Dan, can we actually search the system if we don't know the customer, but we have a serial number? Can we just search by a serial number?
Okay. All right. Under our inquiry, let's see, is that the one I want? Nope, wrong one. Give me a second. There is a serial search. Hey, Mike, are you on the line? I guess he's not. There is.
Would it be on the inventory?
Yeah, I'm here.
Mike, where they want to know if they have a serial number, but they don't have a customer's name. Where is our serial search?
So you go to Inventory Center.
It is an inventory. Okay.
At the bottom is serial numbers. Way at the bottom.
Serial numbers right there. Above you is, yep.
All right. Now, I don't see who if I pick a serial number like this one here.
Well, it's in stock.
So right, it hasn't been sold, right?
So if it has been sold, then there's an easier way.
Okay.
So you just go to Invoice History, Transactions, Invoice History at the top.
All right, give me a second. Get up there.
And we have a tab for serial numbers. That's what I was looking
for here.
Yeah.
Serial number. Here's all the serial numbers. This is one we just did. You see, and that's the serial number for that particular one that we purchased on this invoice.
Okay, we brought in a used piece of equipment. Let's say a customer traded in a piece of equipment, and we want to know if we originally sold it. We can actually type in a serial number, let's say it's an Imperial Isle or 6 burner, and we want to see if we're the original ones that sold it, we can search just by the serial number and see the customer it was originally sold to.
That is correct. The key is when you receive that in, you want to make sure the item is serial tracking. So when you get it in and you do your work and stuff on it, when you sell it, that serial number, even if it's a used item from somebody else that you brought in, that will track it that it was a used item, not one of the new items.
Okay.
Thank you, Mike. So let's go over to our balance register, and we're going to, we have 5 transactions run through here. So I could balance these from the back room. I don't have to be at that register to do this balancing, counting my cash and stuff. They can count the drawer and then just give it to me with their numbers. They don't know what it's supposed to be, so they can't stick money in their pocket. So if everything is 0 and I say post, how much do I want to leave in my drawer? I can put $200 in, whatever I want. This is going to be a recap of every invoice, how it was paid for, checks, money put on account, the whole bit. Okay, so now that we've done that, we're going to go over to our, under accounting, onto our post transactions. Here are all the transactions that came from all the modules. The invoicing, the inventory, PO receiving, accounts payable, everything is here. Okay, and you'll notice my debits equal my credits, so that's a good thing. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to drag over Mr. Sage, and I'm going to select a job under Job Select, and the GL import, and hit select, and I'm going to accept that. And what it's going to do, it's going to look at all the items that were not posted. 94 line items. I'm not going to bother viewing the log, but I will go over to my general journal and preview that. And everything we did in positive is now in Sage, waiting to be updated. Let's go to 200% screen. So every transaction that was done in positive is now in Sage. All we got to do is just update our general journal. And that 9,144,000, if you go over to here under Sage, 9,144,000, nothing was left behind. Now that was a freebie. If you decide you want other things coming over from positive, I specifically need to know what, and they will quote you a visual integrator project fee to bring those over. Personally, as an accountant, I don't see the purpose of it. If all my GL transactions that I did, everything in the system, my GL records it all, is in Sage, is there a reason I can do my receivables, my cash receipts, everything that is in here is kind of the same as it's in Sage. We've got things that Sage doesn't have. Like if we're going to be working with accounting here and we're going to say, let's see, accounting, and we want, no, sorry, transactions. And our AR payments, we've got a thing called an AR payment center, which allows us to do batch pay or reverse a transaction. We have put the money against the wrong customer. It reverses it for us. We have the ability to do, if you're more comfortable doing batch payments, whereas you put all the check dollar amounts and the check numbers, and that will apply it against all I need is the invoice number. I don't have to go looking for the customer. I just look at the customer's check stub and I put the invoice number. It finds which invoice is open in our system for us. We had a customer called Dykes down in Huntington, Alabama. They said they had a half a day taking customer checks that came in and trying to find out what invoices they were for, because many times the payee on the check was not who was invoiced. It was corporate paying it. So with this modification that was made for them, you just put the invoice number in and it applies it to the right invoices, right customer. That was the tipping point that caused them to buy the system, the amount of time they were saving. And then, of course, the last one under payments is the customer payments, where you bring up Marble Room here and it says, all right, this is how much they owe. How much do you want to pay? Well, they only paid $20,000. That's all they can afford to pay. So then I'll take the tender. It says, okay, I'm taking $20,000 from them. I'll say, okay. They gave me a check. Here was our check number. Print a record. I can email them a copy of their receipt. Another customer, no. So when I look at that customer, I think that was the one we used. If we look at the AR detail, we say they put 20,000, okay, and their PO was a verbal PO. They never gave us a PO number, but this is the invoice it was paid against. And then here'd be a list of all your closed ones that they still owed money on. This was one they had a deposit that they made. So, and here's also where you can write off. Or if someone just gives you money without an invoice, you can put a deposit on their account and then apply it against the invoice when it comes time for billing. That's good for progress payments on jobs. So as I say, everything is in here that you could possibly want, plus many things. We can go backwards in time on our open payables, open receivable reports, go backwards in time on our inventory valuation reports. That's something Sage can't do, to my knowledge, with inventory. They can, but see, in Sage, you're only working in 2 months, current month and future month. In our system, there is no monthly closing. Everything rolls over with filters to the new month. So if I look at 12/31 at my income statement and balance sheet, and then I look at 1/1/21, my income statement has no activity. I didn't close the year. It does it all with filters. So if you've got the security to be able to go back in the general ledger, and we can lock periods, when we do our setups, we can lock periods, period maintenance. We can say, hey, this is locked. I don't want nobody posting these prior periods. But you could have a supervisor open up and put the depreciation expense in because your accountant didn't get to you until April. But meanwhile, you wanted to stop people from working in the prior year, so you locked everything down. But you can open it back up just for yourself to put the transactions. And then, of course, that will all roll forward to year end for your depreciation expense. We also can do reversing entries. So at the end of the year, any expenses that we're not going to pay for until January, but we want to account for them in December, we can put a reversing entry in, just like Sage, charge the expense on our income statement, and then when it goes to the new year, it puts a negative dollar amount in the expense in the new year. We also have what we call our pre-established, like for payroll. You can put a journal entry in and just use it over and over and over again, just plug in the different dollar amounts for that payroll. That's called reoccurring general ledger entries. So as a Sage dealer, I told Positive all the cool things that Sage can do, and they incorporated it into their software for us.
Dan, can we touch on some reporting and say sales person commissions?
Sure. If we go to reports, now again, it all depends on what I've got on here, but let's look at our invoices. Let's see, sales reports. Let's look at this. I'm going to close this one, and I'm going to go to a demo database that I have a lot more of my reports in. Here's my Sage stuff here. Just minimize that. Okay, we're going to go in here. Oh, I picked the wrong one again. Okay, so let's go to check this one here. As I say, every person has security on what things they can and can't do, and their login is what controls that. So if we go into our reports, yeah, these a little bit. On sales reports, we've got customer invoice profit report. Let's just maybe run that one quick. And for what period of time, we'll just say this year. And for what customer, let's look at the Augusta. So this is going to show us the invoice, who the salesperson, what our cost was, what our profit margin was for an individual. Next one is customer sales revenue. And again, all these reports I'm showing you are ones that come for free when you buy the system. So here we see Augusta had 6 invoices for $72,000. This is our cost. This is our profit margin. Daily sales order. These are all the sales orders that were written up that day, not invoice, but how many orders did you take that day? So you can run that. Let's see what's in there. And oh, it's looking for a specific day. Let's try that, today's date, and see if anything comes up. We can do. We're not really doing a lot of multi-site right now. I don't have anything for that day. Low high profit. I love this one. Everyone loves this one. Okay. If we say this year, I want to see everything that my profit was less than 10%. Yep. I hope I have some. All right. So here's all the things that you bought and sold at a loss. This one here, we sold 2 of these, our costs, and we ended up selling them these at the wrong price. Here's some here we sold for $29. Our cost was $26. They bought 12 of them. And so this was our profit margin. You can run this on a daily basis and it'll let you know if your costs have creeped up, but you haven't adjusted your sales accordingly. Or if you sold something for the same what you paid for it, you made 0 profit on it. All these reports were requested by equipment dealers. Here's a custom invoice sales report. Run that. So this one here is by each individual customer, showing you every item they bought, the price, cost, total price, total cost, profit, and profit percentage. And it's done customer by customer. Okay. Sales by customer, job status by customer, open job costs, sales by salespeople. We got multiple people ringing up sales. I can show the invoice detail. I want all the salespeople. I only got 1, I think. So this will say Dan Spikowski sold to this place. This is what I sold him. This is a price. Here was a discount if I gave it to them, what my net price was, what my cost, my margin. So we know by salesman what they did. Did they blow it anywhere? Did we lose money anywhere? So those are just sales reports. We got all kinds of inventory reports on hand. What cost is higher than sell price? Management reports that take care of our sales tax, tender history, checkbook audits, paid invoices for commissions, purchasing reports, open POs, items received on PO, return merchandise reports, customer reports, anything under designer reports. These are the custom ones we wrote that customers paid us for that become property of all the positive users that buy from me. Accounts receivable, deposits on a file, open invoices as of a certain date. Even on general ledger reports, if we have an income statement, and we're going to look for this month or this period of time, we can do 1 month. This just shows us our profitability. And then we have comparative budget statements. We've got custom balance sheets. And I think, oh, we even did a trend report like Sage has for their trend report that shows you month by month the movement of your GL accounts. So here's your assets, liabilities, capital, total equity. So I do everything Sage does. And if your accountant wants to see all the GL stuff in Sage, I've already done that, no cost. But if we have to start doing other modules, then we have to work up a quote for you to do that.
Okay. Well, is there anything to calculate or automatically calculate commissions for salesmen? Say if they get a
Yes.
percentage of the GP per item.
Yes, on our management in our commission system. Now, unfortunately, I did not set this to run, but every individual invoice and profitability and the commission percent on that invoice by line number is calculated. And then when we tell to post the commission, it puts it to accounts payable and cuts a commission check and marks it as paid. If the item comes back on a return, it provides a negative commission for that line. So we get our money back from the salesman in the next commission run. And then the commissions can be split commission between two people, and you decide whether you want a percentage of the total sale. Do you want a gross profit commission where we're going to take sell less cost, and whatever's left, we're going to apply a percentage. So that keeps the guys from selling close to cost so they can get commissions on their net. That eliminates that problem. So we've got all different kind of ways to calculate what the commission percentages are or change the percentages when we're doing a special sale.
Can the percentage change or be adjusted per salesman?
You can always adjust a commission after the fact. That's what you use the edit button for. You can change it if you decide when you're looking at this, and of course you can print this all out, but when you're looking at this, you can adjust anybody's commission on one line item because he sold it too close to cost. So you may drop it from 2% to 1% or no commission on that line item.
So this is Mike. Yeah, one tip that we have suggested is that everybody get a 1% commission, and then you can multiply it by whatever percentage you want.
Okay, instead of having, let's say we have 5 salesmen and 2 salesmen get 1 percentage, because their salary is or base is not the same as another one. So they might get different structures. You're saying just keep it all the same and then adjust it after the fact?
Yeah, we're not calculating commissions based on the employee. We're calculating commissions on the items being sold. So it's
Understood.
easier just to do a 1%.
Yeah, we did for one customer, the commissions all were set, I believe, at 1%. And then Devin wrote a little report that it prompted you for the employee's name, and it would look at the unpaid commissions, and it would say, changed all the commissions for Dan Spakowski in this unpaid commission file to 4%. And it would go through and do all the line items for the 4%, not the 1%. And you could do it employee by employee.
Okay, and I'm assuming that we would be able to have a report written for the same effect, but it would only be based on, they would only collect commission if we collect the money at the time of sale.
Yes, you collect it, and then we then post the commissions, which will create a payable for that employee for his commission check.
And,
Okay,
and
but
another
Sorry, go
thing that we do, if there is a return of an item, then the commission is reduced from that employee.
Okay. Is there in this scenario, we are getting ready to launch our e-commerce website. So obviously, it'll be part of the salesman's responsibility in-house to manage the sales that come in from the website, but they're not going to get commission based on the website sales. They'd only get commission based on their personal projects. So is there a way to differentiate? I know you mentioned something about an API, from the e-commerce site into Positive. Is there a way to differentiate those type of sales that it came from the website versus, ones that were quoted out?
I know we have the ability to, at least I know Devin does when he does his reports, that every sale has a unique character that you can't see that says this is a job cost invoice, this is an e-commerce invoice, this is a service invoice. So what we would have to do probably is give you, when you run the report, it would break those e-commerce invoices, because right now on e-commerce, we're bringing in the invoices, well, once your shopping cart's set up under e-commerce, transactions, create web orders, and those web orders would come down from your shopping cart and end up in here as a specific type of sales order invoice. So all you're doing here is saying, okay, I have this one. Now I'm going to convert it to an order, pull all my inventory, ship it out, and they've already paid for it at the point of sale at the e-commerce level, and then you're just going to send them in the box a confirming invoice that they've paid with their American Express when they ordered it on the website. But all of it comes into here as a unique type of an order. So I'm sure the sales commissions can be sorted by the types of orders that came in. Okay.
All right, Mark, do you have anything else?
No, I think I'm pretty information overload.
Do you like what you see at least?
Yes, I'm impressed.
Yes.
Very impressed.
Good, because again, we spent a ton of money and a lot of years listening to dealers telling us what they wanted. And so that's why this is so unique. I can't sell this to a clothing store. It's just for kitchen equipment dealers. That's it.
Okay.
Thank you so much. I'll send you the video. You said you may want to go from 7 to 5 users only.
Yeah, I think we just need to start with 5 for now.
Okay, well, I'll send you a quote for the 5. And then if you feel after some hard discussion that you need stuff out of Positive to go to Sage other than all the GL transactions, then we'll have to get started working up costs to do that for you.
Okay, yeah, the main concern is, or one of the main concerns, like I said, is that commission structure. I know, how Sage, and I'm sure you can set, the items to be commissioned. You can set up the, salesman, main salesman, sub salesman. They can have different commission structures. So I was kind of interested to see if this system could do that. If not, we may want to explore pushing this information to Sage so we can
Like
utilize that.
The sales history for the salesman, push it to Sage and let Sage calculate everything.
Let Sage calculate the profit and the commissions and everything. Yes.
Okay. Well, we are doing that, and we certainly can send you what we've calculated, and Sage will calculate the exact same thing and come up with the exact same numbers. So if you feel you need the redundancy, we'll give you anything you want. It's just I'm trying to save you money any way I can.
No, I understand. And I appreciate that. I'm just looking at, because even the commission structure is new to us. So even within Sage, but it just seemed like what we were shown in Sage is you could have a sales manager and then the salesman underneath him, and they can both have commission structures and they can have different rates. That's kind of what I was looking for.
Oh, we have that. You can split the commission on any sale and give the manager 1% and give the salesman 4%. That's
okay. So that can be
software. Yeah, managers, you can always automatically default the manager to get 1% on every salesman's guys, because that's what he does. And then the salesman will get 4%, one will get 3%, but we'll always give the sales manager his cut of the action. That's built into the software. Okay, well, thank you so very much.